This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor.
This is just me talking about my personal financial journey. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Enjoy the show.
I want you to picture someone for a second. Think about, that one coworker or maybe it's a family member who just absolutely cannot seem to figure out the office printer.
Oh, yeah, we all know one.
Right? Or the dishwasher. Like, no matter how many times they are shown, no matter how detailed the sticky note instructions are, they just stare at it.
Just that completely baffled look.
Exactly. That baffled, helpless expression until someone else finally just sighs, pushes them aside, and steps in to do it for them.
Because it's just faster that way.
Yeah, exactly. You've been there, you watch them fumble, and you have to wonder, is it really a genuine lack of ability?
That is the million-dollar question.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because what if I told you that baffled expression is actually an evolutionary defense mechanism designed to basically steal your time?
It's the ultimate everyday mystery, really. We see it so often that we almost become blind to it.
Yeah, totally. We usually just write it off as someone being a little bit clumsy or, technically challenged. But when you start looking at the underlying mechanics of that behavior...
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive today.
Right. It paints a very different, a highly calculated picture.
Yeah, and to get into that, we are pulling from some incredibly illuminating excerpts from a book called The Art of Doing Less, Decoding Strategic Incompetence.
It's such a fascinating read.
It really is. We're going to unpack this wildly frustrating behavioral phenomenon. It's an everyday frustration, but peeling back the layers reveals a pretty complex psychological game.
Where feigning ignorance basically becomes an invisible tool for shifting burdens onto other people.
Exactly. And it's a rich topic because it touches on, elements of behavioral economics, workplace psychology.
And just basic interpersonal dynamics. By the end of this deep dive, we are going to decode the hidden psychological mechanics behind this behavior.
You are never going to look at someone accidentally jamming the copier the exact same way again, I promise you. No, you really won't.
So, to figure out how this operates in a corporate boardroom or, a busy kitchen, I think it helps to look at where it begins, because nobody is actually born doing this.
No, definitely not. It's learned behavior.
Right. It starts in childhood, usually as that classic kind of tongue-in-cheek advice passed down to teenagers. Like, if you don't want to be asked to mow the lawn, just do a terrible job the first time.
Oh, absolutely. Or the classic laundry trick.
Yes. Accidentally put a red sock in with the white laundry, and boom, you are officially banned from laundry duty for life.
Exactly. It begins as this naive, slightly rebellious shortcut.
Right.
In the context of adolescence, it's almost entirely about immediate gratification and avoiding chores. The teenager isn't operating with some master Machiavellian plan.
They aren't evil masterminds.
Right. They're just responding to basic operant conditioning.
Meaning they're just responding to the immediate reward system in their environment. Like, if I do X, I get Y.
Precisely. They do a bad job, the parent gets frustrated, the parent takes over the task, and the teenager gets to go back to playing video games.
Wow. Yeah.
So the negative behavior, the incompetence, is immediately rewarded with free time.
That's so wild to think about. The consequence for failure is actually a prize.
It is. It's a massive prize for a 16-year-old.
It's essentially hacking the parental system. But how does that calcify? Because a 16-year-old shrinking a sweater to get out of laundry is one thing.
Sure, it's normal teen stuff.
Right. But it's entirely different when you see a 40-year-old project manager doing the exact equivalent of that with, a quarterly report.
And that transition is where it becomes a deeply ingrained habit. You see, this tactic works so well in the low-stakes environment of a childhood home that it just doesn't always get left behind in adolescence.
It just carries over.
Yeah, for some people, it slowly ossifies. It hardens into this permanent lifestyle and a default operating strategy. They carry this behavioral hack into their marriages, their friendships, their careers, all because they've learned that appearing helpless is simply the most efficient way to conserve their own energy.
Okay, hang on. I have to challenge you on that a little bit.
Step for it.
Because, we all have things we are genuinely just bad at. Like, I cannot fix a car to save my life, and sometimes it's just easier to lean into that and call a mechanic or ask a friend.
Of course.
So, at what specific point does this cross the line from a funny, harmless adolescent trick or even just a genuine lack of skill into a genuinely toxic adult personality trait?
That is a great question. The crucial dividing line is the exploitation of someone else's conscientiousness.
Exploitation. Okay.
Right. When it's harmless, it's occasional, and it usually comes with genuine contrition or, a willingness to compensate in other areas.
Like, I can't fix the car, but I will pay for dinner.
Exactly. It's a trade-off. But when it becomes toxic, it's a weaponized pattern. The person is actively leveraging your sense of responsibility and your anxiety about things getting done right against you.
Oh, wow. They're using your anxiety against you.
They really are. They know you care too much to let the project fail or to let the house fall into chaos, so they use your competence as a shield for their laziness.
That is so incredibly manipulative. So if they are weaponizing our anxiety, how do we distinguish that from someone who truly, genuinely cannot do the task? Like, what is actually happening in their brain?
Well, to understand that, we have to look at a very real psychological concept called learned helplessness.
Okay, learned helplessness.
Yeah, which was discovered in the 1960s, largely through the work of Martin Seligman. He found that when subjects experience repeated, unavoidable stress or failure, their brains literally rewire to believe they have no control over their environment.
It's not a choice.
Not at all. It's a genuine psychological state of feeling powerless, deeply linked to things like depression and trauma. The brain actually shuts down the neurological pathways for effort because it has learned that action is futile.
Okay, so that is the real clinical version. It's an involuntary state of powerlessness. But we are dealing with the counterfeit version of that here, right?
We absolutely are. Strategic incompetence is entirely different because it is highly targeted.
Targeted, right.
Which is why psychologists sometimes refer to it as selective helplessness.
Selective helplessness. That makes so much sense.
Right, because the person's brain works perfectly fine. The pathways for effort are fully intact.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this. The same person who claims they simply cannot figure out how to navigate the company's new expense reporting software is somehow able to build like a custom liquid-cooled, high-performance gaming PC from scratch at home.
Exactly. That is the perfect example. Their helplessness is selectively deployed based on what they want to avoid, and the sources introduce this clinical term for what they are doing, which is cognitive load offloading.
Okay, let's unpack that term, cognitive load offloading. That sounds a lot like having too many mental tabs open on your own browser, so you just wirelessly transfer your junk files to your colleague's brain so you don't have to deal with the crash.
That is such a perfect analogy.
Like you're taking the mental friction of a task and literally airdropping it onto whoever is standing closest to you.
You preserve your own mental bandwidth by hijacking someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this leads us to one of the most frustrating dynamics in any organization.
Which is?
The competence penalty.
Oh, the competence penalty. If you are listening to this right now, you have probably felt this pain.
Almost certainly.
It's like the unwritten rule of the modern workplace that the reward for digging a really great hole is just a much bigger shovel.
Yes, exactly.
Competent people are actively punished with more work, more responsibilities, and more tedious tasks simply because they're good at executing them.
And management knows they won't let the ball drop.
Right. So the competent person just becomes the path of least resistance for every single problem.
And what's fascinating here is that strategic incompetence is essentially a dark, defensive adaptation to avoid that exact penalty.
Wait, so it's a defense mechanism against being given too much work?
Exactly. The strategically incompetent person has looked at the ecosystem of the office. They've realized that being highly capable only attracts more unpaid, unappreciated labor, and they have adapted by intentionally flying under the radar.
So they play dumb to protect their own time.
Precisely.
It's like an evolutionary camouflage. They blend in with the background noise of mediocrity, so the predators like middle managers looking to assign extra weekend work just walk right past them.
And they survive to rest another day.
Wow. Okay, so if the competence penalty is driving this at the office, I have to imagine this defense mechanism mutates when it enters the home, right? Because there are no middle managers or performance reviews at home.
It absolutely does mutate, and honestly, it can be far more damaging in a personal setting.
Really? How so?
Well, at the office, this usually looks like a slow, agonizing dragging of the feet. You know, the coworker who always asks for just one more quick review of their presentation because they, quote, aren't great with PowerPoint.
Fully knowing it's just faster for you to just reformat the slides yourself?
Exactly.
Oh.
But at home, it starts with domestic chores, like, I don't know how to fold the fitted sheet, I'll just mess it up.
Classic.
But then it quickly bleeds into something much more insidious, which is emotional tasks.
Wait, this is huge. Dodging the laundry is one thing, and yeah, it's annoying, but how does faking incompetence with emotional tasks specifically drain a partner differently than just skipping a chore?
It's a completely different level of exhaustion because it attacks the emotional infrastructure of the relationship itself.
Oh, wow.
When someone uses this for physical tasks, you take on extra physical labor. But when they use it for emotional tasks, they are essentially forcing you to be the sole project manager of your shared social existence.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Imagine a decade of one partner saying things like, I just don't know what to buy your mother for her birthday. I always get it wrong. You just do it.
Oh, I've heard that one.
Or, I'm not good at anticipating what the kids need for school. You have a better mind for that.
So they are entirely abandoning the emotional weight of the partnership.
They are. And the partner is left feeling entirely alone. They aren't just doing the laundry anymore. They are doing the worrying, the planning, the emotional anticipating.
Right, because a healthy partnership relies on a shared mutual bearing of that emotional weight.
Exactly. And when one person systematically offloads that weight through feigned helplessness, the other person simply gets crushed under the cognitive load.
So from the outside, it might look like the strategically incompetent person has really hacked the system. Like they have engineered this stress-free life where they just float down the river while everyone else is furiously paddling.
It certainly looks that way at first.
But we need to look at the heavy toll this strategy eventually exacts, because it's clearly not a victimless crime, and they don't get away with it forever, do they?
No, they don't.
I mean, yes, it's an undeniable short-term win. They get out of folding the sheets today. They avoid the angry client phone call today.
But the long-term consequences for the ecosystem around them are severe, primarily because it just shatters trust.
It has to, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
When you realize your colleague or your spouse isn't genuinely struggling, but is actually manipulating your conscientiousness, the sympathy evaporates
So
instantly.
that replaces it.
Deep, enduring resentment. And eventually it leads to total burnout for the people who are forced to constantly pick up the slack.
But here's where it gets really interesting, though, based on what we're reading in the sources. They point out this incredible boomerang effect on the perpetrator themselves.
Yes, the boomerang effect.
Like, they win the battle of dodging a spreadsheet, but they completely lose the war of their own cognitive development, don't they?
They do, through a kind of self-inflicted atrophy.
Self-inflicted atrophy. Wow.
Yeah, because the brain is quite literally a use-it-or-lose-it machine. We talk a lot about neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to form new connections and learn new skills.
Right.
Well, when you constantly outsource your problem solving and you actively dodge frustrating tasks, the neural pathways dedicated to frustration tolerance, critical thinking, and skill acquisition actually begin to prune themselves.
Wait, really? So they physically lose the ability over time?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you spend a decade pretending you don't know how to learn new software, eventually you genuinely lose the confidence and the cognitive agility to learn new things.
So they actually become the incompetent person they've been pretending to be all these years.
It becomes a literal self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And this naturally stunts their professional development.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They get passed over for promotions because management, while perhaps fooled into thinking they aren't maliciously lazy, absolutely believes they are incapable.
Plus, I mean, people aren't stupid. Over time, coworkers figure out the game.
Oh, they always do.
They stop inviting that person to collaborate on exciting projects. They stop including them in the inner circle. The strategically incompetent person basically ends up marooned on an island of their own making, surrounded by people who secretly harbor contempt for them.
Which is a pretty devastating place to end up, both personally and professionally.
Okay, so knowing the immense damage this causes to everyone involved, we have to talk about real-world application here.
Definitely.
You, listening right now, you need practical tools to handle these individuals without losing your own sanity. So let's say I'm sitting at my desk and my coworker is staring blankly at the shared drive.
Doing the helpless stare.
Right, doing the stare. And my natural instinct is to just grab the mouse and do it so I can just go home. What do I actually do? How do I shut it down?
The first step is pattern recognition. You have to look for the micro delays and the conditional helplessness.
Conditional helpless.
Right. Like, does this person only struggle when a task is boring or unglamorous?
Oh, that's a good question to ask yourself.
Exactly. Do they mysteriously regain their competence when it's a project that gives them high visibility with the boss?
Okay, yeah, that is a massive tell.
And another massive red flag is preemptive self-deprecation.
What does that look like?
They will say things like, oh, you're just so much better at this than I am, or I'm such a dinosaur with this technology.
Right, playing the victim a bit.
It's flattery specifically designed to disarm your frustration before you can even express it.
And once you spot that flattery for what it is, how do you actually enforce a boundary? Because stepping in to help is such a natural impulse for most of us.
It is, but you have to realize that stepping into quote-unquote just do it faster is the trap.
It's the trap.
If we connect this back to the operant conditioning we talked about from childhood, doing the work for them is exactly what they're banking on.
Ah, I see.
It is the reward system that keeps their behavior alive. Every single time you step in, you are validating their strategy. You are handing the teenager their video games.
Wow.
So to shut it down, you must offer guidance, not execution.
Guidance, not execution. Let's make sure that sinks in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You say, I know the software is tricky. Here's a link to the tutorial video. Let me know when you finish the draft. And then you physically walk away.
I love that. It's basically an extreme game of chicken.
It really is.
You have to be entirely willing to let the metaphorical or even the literal dishes pile up to the ceiling rather than blink and do them yourself.
You do.
Like, you have to be okay with sitting in that deeply awkward silence or letting a minor deadline slip just to prove that the responsibility remains squarely on their shoulders. You essentially have to out-stubborn their feigned helplessness.
It takes immense discipline. It really does. Especially for highly conscientious people who just hate seeing things done poorly.
Right, because it physically pains them.
But returning the monkey to their back is literally the only way to break the cycle. You have to remove the reward. If they do a bad job on the report, you don't rewrite it for them at midnight. You hand it back to them the next morning and say, this needs more work on section 3, have it back to me by noon. You let them experience the friction of their own actions.
So what does this all mean for us? If we look at the whole journey of this deep dive today, we've traced how a seemingly innocent teenage trick to avoid weekend chores evolves into this deeply complex, highly manipulative psychological strategy in adulthood.
We really have.
We've seen how selective helplessness isn't just a quirky personality trait, you know? It's a calculated tax levied on the most capable people in a room.
Well said.
And while it offers this brief, stress-free respite for the person dodging the work, it acts like slow poison on trust. It breeds massive resentment, and ultimately, it literally prunes the neuroplasticity of the very person trying to take the easy way out.
It's a lose-lose scenario, masquerading as a clever life hack, essentially.
Yeah.
But the real power lies in making the invisible visible. Once you understand the mechanics of cognitive load offloading, you are no longer a passive participant in their game.
You can see the matrix.
Exactly. You can choose how to engage, and more importantly, you can choose when to let them struggle.
I want you to remember this. The next time someone looks at you with those wide eyes and claims they just aren't good with computers right before a mind-numbingly tedious data entry task, you now have the psychological blueprint to see exactly what is happening in that moment.
You do.
You don't have to get angry, but you definitely don't have to take the mouse.
You can just smile, validate their struggle, and point them directly to the manual.
As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over.
I like these.
We spent a lot of time today talking about the competence penalty, how we inadvertently punish our best people with more work.
Right.
Well, if we, in our workplaces, in our homes, completely eliminated that penalty, like if we actually stopped rewarding our most capable people with extra unpaid burdens and created truly equitable systems, would strategic incompetence naturally just vanish?
It's a fascinating thought.
Or is the human desire for a shortcut so deeply wired into our ancient energy-conserving brains that we will always fundamentally look for a way to selectively forget how to do the dishes?
That is the million-dollar behavioral question, isn't it?
Think about it next time you load the dishwasher. Until next time, keep diving deep.